I think Brother Corey is gonna come in later after he finishes up with something he said. He might jump in later.
Okay.
Okay. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent for their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive the divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There's but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make a man a nation. The wealth of national governments, gold and silver, and commerce belong to the citizens alone, and without their national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on the true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mind back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government and which and what? Hold on. Okay. In which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in union, placing the Southerners who were at the time without power, with the Constitution no body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional laws that was enforced since 1774 declare all men equal and free, and if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements, that then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in the North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and that, and though the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light in utter darkness of sin. There is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in the present condition of the endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world, that they will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought them Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerners for all these great misuse, but I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on true American citizens of moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet.
I'm gonna read the Divine Constitution, and then Empress Nonel is gonna read medical astrology. A portion of it, we can kind of take turns with the reading. Whenever people get tired, we can rotate it. Let me greet. Somebody came in the chat. Let me see who that is so I can greet them. Brother Salim and Taharji Bay. Peace and love. Peace and love. Hope everybody had a beautiful week.
Islam, love.
All right. Divine Constitution for Moorish America. Let me let somebody back in here. Boom. Grand Sheik and Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle of Seven in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or overthrow the laws and constitution of that said government, but obey hereby. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Joe Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father, Allah. Islam, let me check the chat. Tajari Bay says she can't hear anything. It should be like a little mic or a little, I believe it's a mic that you need to click to unmute you. Or maybe when you logged in, you didn't tap into, I don't know if you're on a phone or a computer, but you need to tap into the sound of whatever device you listen to. Let's see. Okay, so the Emperor's 9L, this is medical astrology.
Okay. Okay, so chapter 3, the hard aspects and health. The aspects used in determining health matters are the hard aspects: the conjunction, square, inconjunct, or quincunx, and opposition. These are considered hard configurations because the energy between the two planets or a planet and a house cusp is blocked. Sickness is simply a mismanagement of energy on either a mental or emotional level. Two other minor aspects: the semi-square, 45 degrees.
Before you start, before you continue, sorry, I want to give a visual when we're talking about conjunctions. So just to give an example, I'm assuming everybody took geometry, 6th grade, elementary geometry, but 90 degrees, 180 degrees. These are angles. For example, I'm a Virgo, 180 degrees for me would be Pisces. From Aries to Cancer, that'd be 90 degrees. From Aries to Capricorn, 90 degrees. 90 degrees is considered a square. A triangle.
A right angle, right?
Right
90
angle.
degrees. Mm-hmm.
And based on these angles, it's considered harmonious or inharmonious or in conflict, etc. 120 degrees will be called a trine. So based on a 45 degrees, 60 something sextile, yeah, consider 60 degrees. That's the lingo in astrology. So these distances promote harmony or inharmony. In summary, Brother Abdullah, peace and love.
Peace to law.
Assalam, Brother
One.
Abdullah.
Hey.
Sister Picola.
But you got it, Empress.
Okay, right here. Two other minor aspects, the semi-square, 45 degrees, and the sesquiquadrant, 135 degrees, also play a role in the manifestation of disease. These minor aspects can provide a degree of irritation and continue abrasive activity that weakens an organ or metabolic function so that severe illness or breakdown may occur when the major aspect by progression takes place. The influence of these minor aspects is slight in that a full-blown condition will not manifest unless there's an accompanying major hard aspects present. Whereas the sign the planet is in the will indicate where illnesses occur, and the house placement will suggest why ailments may develop. The hard aspects indicate the severity of the diseases that may take place. Hard aspects create stress that eventually may manifest in physical ailments. Conjunction, 0-degree aspect between two planets. Depending upon which planets are involved, conjunction generally infers a melding of two energies that work in tandem. Thus, twice the energy and twice the nutritional needs are created. Any conjunction that involves Pluto should be watched and checked out carefully by the medical astrologer. Neptune conjunctions, especially with the Sun, Moon, Mars, or Saturn, can also be indicators of poor health. Square, 90 degrees aspect between two planets. The old adage that a square can be a stumbling block or building block also applies in medical astrology. A square implies that some stress is being applied. It can also show the loss or overuse of whatever vitamins or minerals are involved. The square aspects can be worked out and used beneficially for good health. Opposition, 180-degree aspect between two planets. An imbalance is most likely with this aspect. One of two planets involved in receiving more energy than the other, creating health problems. One of the planets, but not both, will be deficient in some vitamin or mineral. However, when the energies are balanced, there will be no health problems or nutritional deficiencies because an opposition allows us to see clearly what is wrong with our present diet and how to correct the situation so that no deficiencies exist. Inconjunct, 150-degree aspect between two planets. This is the health aspect, the most suspect of the high and low condition of the body. It is the most difficult and impregnable of the aspects to deal with. People who have two or more inconjuncts in their charts are prone to disease at some time in their lives. Moreover, a yod, two planets sextile and inconjunct a third, may implicate illness. You can tell where the ailment is likely to manifest by noting the center or inconjunct planet. The inconjunct can be likened to a pressure cooker. The accumulating steam has to go somewhere. It'll eventually have to escape. On a psychological level, an inconjunct indicates a person cannot get in touch with himself or herself very easily. He or she is poor at identifying internal needs or even recognizing the presence of suppressed or repressed emotions. The buildup of such emotional dross has to explode somewhere and sickness may develop. On a purely physical level, the inconjunct indicates very poor absorption of nutrients. It can denote an enormous appetite for a vitamin or mineral ruled by the planets involved in the aspect. A careful diet is going to have to be tailor-made by a nutritionally conscious physician, particularly if any of the B complex vitamins are involved. The inconjunct involves the first and the sixth or eighth houses. The sixth house in conjunct is the easier of the two to deal with. It mainly means paying careful attention to diet to help sidestep possible health situations. The eighth house in conjunct, on the other hand, involves a Pandora's box of subconscious manifestations that have to be worked out by the individual, often with the help of a therapist. The best word for people with inconjuncts to remember is adaptation. If they can adapt positive attitudes to different circumstances and changing environments, health will probably not be impaired. However, people with two or more inconjuncts, especially those with the odds, or ill health if their attitudes are inflexible or negative and negative.
Coach, real quick,
Although, yeah, I don't know if you want to do it something else, kind of a lot.
yeah, let's digest that. One thing that you'll share what kind of stood out to you, but for me, I know I'm in a sixth house, and I know Virgo dealing with the intestines, so in conjunct in the sixth house, will means you have to be more conscious on the diet, and that kind of stood out to me as far as what to be aware of. You know, what stood out to you thus far, or anybody? Oh yeah, okay, okay. I'm looking at the chat late. Yeah, Virgo in the house. What did you digest so far? What you read?
This is Larry Bay. I was just basically doing the geometry with who I'm more harmonious with as far as their zodiac is concerned. So I was looking at the chart and I was reading through it and I said, okay, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. That's who my 90-degree angles rotate through. I was just putting that together for myself. Everyone else is obviously different, but I was just trying to put that in perspective for myself.
You know some of those people in your life with those signs?
You know, it's funny, man. The women that I've been dealing with actually been those signs. It's kind of crazy. And the women that I haven't been doing well with are the opposite. It's so true, man. It's very true.
So I have a question. So conjunction is kind of like let's say we're talking about like frequencies, if they're working in the same like wavelength, that is like amplify, right? It says twice the energy. And it says like in conjunction, like could I see it in that way? Where it says conjunction, it says depending upon which planets are involved, the conjunction generally infers a melding of two energies that work in tandem. Thus twice the energy and twice nutritional needs are created. Right. So like that's like an amplifier if you're in conjunction with somebody. And if you're in conjunct, right, you're not in conjunction, that's where ailments and issues start to happen.
Right, it's like an octave. And just real quick, somebody in the chat to Raji Bay. Yeah, we saw the message that you said you can't hear. I'm not sure if you can hear now, but like I was saying, it's a little I'm not sure if you're on a computer or the phone, but it should be an option where when you first log in, you might want to log out and log back in, and it's going to ask you to connect with your computer, or if you're on the phone, it's going to ask you to connect with your whatever your phone. Outside of that, I'm not sure what else to really say about that, unless anybody else wants to chime in. I'm assuming you still can't hear, but if you can hear, just say you can't hear.
Is your phone or computer connected to any like Bluetooth device that might be like taken away from the speaker?
But yeah, but the conjunction is like an octave in a amplifier.
So I have a question. So opposition, right? So you say Virgo and Pisces 180 degrees. And it says that does that mean it says an imbalance is most likely with this aspect? where one planet is receiving more energy than the other, creating health problems. But then it's like, do opposites, like, I guess, do opposites attract, or is that something that, is an issue if it's opposites like that?
Well, you're right. It does create right here. However, when the energies are balanced, there will be no health problems. So we're going on a metaphysical, we're going on a medical, this is medical astrology. And what Larry Bay was talking about more like, energies and personality and things like that. Natural harmony, it's a flow. There's no conflict. Everybody see eye to eye. But in the tip you're talking about, opposites do attract because, for example, let's pull up the chart I was bringing up. So for Virgo, Earth, things that come on Earth is more direct, order, doesn't get things done. The Pisces or the water is more intuitive, feel, humanitarian. So the Pisces needs elements of the Virgo to bring out the best version. Because you don't want to be too in your heart, you're going to be gullible. But if you too just go, you're going to come off like you're not a humanitarian, you don't care, all you care about is your goals. So both parties need elements of both. And then when that merges, both parties are whole in the sense, if that makes sense. Hopefully I explained that.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. How everybody else feeling about that? Everybody pretty smooth with that? Any other thoughts in the chat? Where you at in conjunct? Nah.
I was on the second page. Let's see, I was like at the very bottom, but to go into the second page. Okay. Although any in conjunct should be seriously considered and given more weight than other hard aspects when deciding potential areas of nutritional deficiency, some of the more potent in conjuncts are Sun Moon, Sun Saturn, Sun Neptune, Moon Pluto, Mars Saturn, Mars Pluto, Jupiter Saturn, and Saturn Neptune.
And real quick, peace and love, brother Shalom. Hope you had a beautiful week, man.
Peace and love, Elder.
Hey, peace and love.
Peace and love to everybody.
All right. Hard aspects of the sun. Sun, moon. A hard aspect between the sun and the moon implies poor health and low vitality. When the energy of the sun is blocked by the moon, which rules all the bodily fluids, there is a possibility of a very basic flaw in a person. Ill health can be expected at some point if eating habits are poor and emotions are negative. At the least, such a person will have a weak beginning as an infant, perhaps with stronger health towards middle age. The individual cannot afford junk food diets because his or her body will probably retaliate. A hard configuration between the sun and the moon can indicate a deficiency in vitamin A, sun. As a result, there may be sterility. How do you say that word? I know it's sterility. Female complaints and disorders, reproductive infections such as vaginal yeast infections, Scorpio, and digestive upsets. Since the moon rules Cancer, the coverings in the body, such as the pericardium of the heart, the sinuses, and the cheeks may be affected. Since bone marrow also falls under Cancer's domain, the lack of vitamin A may cause softening or abnormal lengthening of the long bone in the body. There may also be problems with pregnancy with a hard aspect between the sun and the moon, especially when a hard aspect to Saturn is present. A lack of iodine, sun, in the mother and fetus may be indicated if the planets are in the sign Taurus or its opposite polarity, Scorpio. Thyroid imbalance may occur during or after pregnancy. affecting the basal metabolism so that the mother is unable to lose weight and return to normal metabolic functions. A thyroid test should be conducted when the patient is found to be pregnant to ascertain whether an iodine supplement of natural origin should be included in her diet. Furthermore, such an aspect can signal a long labor because of insufficient magnesium, Sun, especially if there's also a hard aspect to Saturn. Without enough magnesium, the pituitary gland may be unable to stimulate the release of uterine hormones to ensure healthy contractions. This problem will especially tend to affect women with either the Sun or the Moon in Cancer or Capricorn, as well as hard aspect from Saturn.
What's your
And
thoughts?
a little bit.
your thoughts?
I think my moon's in Cancer. So, reading this is interesting. I had to look it up and double check, but I think my moon's in Cancer. So I'm like reading this makes me like more aware of that. But it's interesting, when you start to kind of know yourself and go through your birth chart and you kind of see like, how you have to move based on like your energies, right? Okay. I keep reading. In fact, a hard aspect between the Sun and the Moon is very likely to produce a deficiency of magnesium, especially if the person is a heavy milk and dairy product user. A good possibility since the sign Cancer is involved. Insufficient magnesium in turn can lead to a lack of potassium, Moon. If there is not enough potassium in the cells, edema-like situations can occur. If one planet is in Cancer and the other in Libra, there may be possible fluid imbalance from lack of potassium. And if Leo or Aquarius is involved, potential heart palpitations and racing may be caused from a lack of potassium. On the other hand, if Pluto is trine to the Sun, there may be too much magnesium in the body. This abundance of magnesium can interfere with potassium exchange and nerve-related activity, causing impaired muscular and respiratory functions. The transiting moon and hard aspect to the Sun may also affect conditions for surgical operations. Operations should not normally be scheduled when the transitioning moon is within 17 degrees of the natal Sun, nor should an operation be contemplated when the transiting moon is in the close square opposition or inconjunct to the natal or transiting Sun.
So for people that this is like fundamental to, like what I would me personally recommend was get in tune with what a trine is, what a sextile is, what a square is, what that means. And then go get their chart done. It'll make more sense. It might make sense right now. I'm just throwing something out there. Some fundamentals that need to be, some prerequisites that would need to be known before diving in depth like this.
I have a question. I know we're talking about like hard aspect, right? So what exactly does hard aspect mean? So this is a hard aspect between the Sun and the Moon implies poor health and low vitality. But it says when the Sun is blocked by the Moon. So yeah, I'm just wondering what hard aspects, that word keeps coming up. But I'm trying to like, the aspects used determining health matters are hard aspects. The conjunction, square, and inconjunct and opposition. These are considered hard configurations because the energy between two planets or a planet and a house cusp is blocked. So there's like a blockage.
Hard aspects create stress that eventually may manifest in physical ailments.
Okay, so there's like a blockage of energy or some emotional thing, right?
Right.
So it's saying that based on your energies, like if you know yourself, you can see like where you can get blocked, right? And where those physical ailments can like manifest because of those blockages. So I feel like it's kind of saying just like know yourself so that way you can understand how to heal yourself, right? When you do have those blockages or you do notice that. And then with the operation, I know we were talking about the moon last time. Now we're talking about how we have a lot of water in our body and the tides and everything. I've seen that it mentioned the moon again, being in a
Hey,
certain like position.
hey, Mafia, I got a quick question. I'm trying to calculate. This is Larry Bay. I'm trying to calculate where my my sign will be with the moon in correlation with the moon. I'm trying to come up with that, with that formula to figure out where the moon. Now I know what my planet, my zodiac planet is, but I just don't know where the moon in relation to that.
Oh, you want to know your moon sign?
Right, exactly.
So you would I know there's certain apps, and anybody else can chime in if they know different one. I know Zodiac Cafe is an app. Astro Matrix is another app.
There's Nebula.
Nebula, and then
I think CoStar.
CoStar. And you would need to know the location that you came out your mom geographically, and put your born day, and then they're going to give you your what they call the Trinity. They're going to give you your Earth. They're going to give you your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising or ascendant, and that's your Trinity.
I got it. I actually just downloaded the app Nebula, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that. Thanks a lot. Good looking.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Matt, with Sun, Mercury. Oh yeah, that's right. You do need to know your birth time.
Right, birth time.
Okay, Sun, Mercury. Since Mercury is never more than 28 degrees from the sun, there are no major aspects possible except for the conjunction. Mercury rules Gemini. Consequently, with a Sun-Mercury conjunction, there can be various disorders related to the Gemini-directed tubes of the body, such as the Eustachian tubes of the ears, the bronchial tubes of the lungs, the ureters leading from the kidneys to the bladder, the urethra leading from the bladder to the outer opening, the fallopian tubes carrying eggs from the ovaries to the uterus, and the cerebrospinal system. With an accompanying hard aspect from the Saturn and one of the planets in Gemini, the deficiency of vitamin A could manifest as bronchial asthma attacks. In addition, ear infections might occur if Saturn is an aspect of one of the planets is in Aries. Bladder infections, cystitis, or menstrual problems are possible if Scorpio is involved. And if one of the planets is in Libra, the lower back may be helped with adequate vitamin A. Since Mercury also rules Virgo, a lack of vitamin A may cause ailments associated with that sign. Virgo guides the splitting up processes that take place in the intestines, liver, and pancreas. A deficiency of vitamin A may create intestinal problems, such as colitis or diverticulosis. The aging process or the slow renewal of RNA through the liver may also be caused by a lack of vitamin A. And with the pancreatic disease, diabetes, vitamin A cannot be stored properly. It must be replenished daily. Rashes, itching, flaking, psoriasis, liver spots, dryness, and tightness may also appear, partially caused by the nerves ruled by Mercury. Let's see. Nerve-related problems are another possibility with the Sun in hard aspect with Mercury. If Mercury is in an air sign, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, the person is apt to be high-strung to begin with. The condition may be aggravated by deficiency of thiamine, mercury, so that the person is easily irritable and grouchy. An individual with Mercury in a fire sign, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, is more apt to have an inflammation of nerve endings, such as neuritis or inflammation of sciatica. Another disease linked to deficiency of thiamine is Bell's palsy, more likely to occur if Mercury is in Aries, which rules the face, the motor centers of the brain, and the circulation therein. Any such nervous condition may be intensified by an additional hard aspect from Saturn. A deficiency of thiamine may bring on heart problems as well, since the sun rules that vital organ. For example, there's a possibility of cardiomegaly, cardiomegaly or bradycardia. A planet in the sign of Leo or an activated fixed cross in a natal chart would enhance such possibility. Moreover, a lack of thiamine could cause disorders of the spinal cord, ruled by the Sun and Uranus. For instance, the myelin sheaths that cover the cord could become destroyed or partially disintegrated because of insufficient thiamine, coupled with pernicious anemia. Since Mercury co-rules the thyroid with Taurus, thyroid complications are also possible. With a hard aspect from Saturn, the thyroid may hypofunction because of lack of vitamin D, sun. Means that there is not enough calcium, Saturn, available in the system. And with a hard aspect from Saturn, the thyroid may hypofunction from the lack of iodine, particularly if any of these three planets is in Taurus or Scorpio. On the other hand, a hard aspect to Sun, Mercury from Mars or Uranus, the thyroid may hyperfunction. Finally, a hard aspect between the Sun and Mercury can indicate a deficiency of magnesium and accompanying illnesses. For instance, a lack of magnesium can contribute to the Virgo-related diseases, such as diarrhea or pancreatitis. With a hard aspect from Jupiter, vitamin B6, Jupiter, may not be supplied in adequate quantities because of the insufficient magnesium, creating a potential diabetic situation or leading to celiac disease. And if there is a hard aspect from Jupiter or Saturn and the sign Virgo is involved, there may be liver damage.
We can stop
Okay,
right
maybe we
there.
should let's stop right there.
And that's crazy because the whole theme of magnesium the past week, right, or for the past couple of weeks, and as we can see, that helps out with sleep, right? You've been taking magnesium that help out with sleep. Just the fact that that's been the theme this week as far as making sure we get some magnesium. I find that divine that we're talking about it from this scope. And let me say peace and love to Empress Indigo. Patrice, peace and love. Any thoughts on what was read for we transition? As we can see, things that were highlighted to me, my mind always go back to the cell salts. We see the sun is affiliated with vitamin D. We see the Saturn is affiliated with calcium. We see vitamin B6 is affiliated with Jupiter. Back to the as above, so below. You know, our body is made out of what the universe is made out of. So if we were deficient in certain things, we just need to know how to get the true supplement, as they say, the supplement. When you look up supplement, things that make you whole. Supplements are not pills or, Advil and Tylenol. These are not, even though they say they are supplements, those are not true supplements because they're not making you whole. I just want to throw that out there. Anybody else had any thoughts?
And it seems like with a lot of these supplements, you can just, like you said, take naturally. It's not just like from a pill. They kept saying like the sun. the sun was popping up in a lot of that. So just being out in the sun can get you a lot of these vitamins and things that you need to prevent like illnesses.
And the herbs as well, the herbs that's already in the earth, you know. I take a lot of I go to a herbalist here where I live, and they sell a lot of herbs like grounded in a powder form for like $7 an ounce. So your bitter melon, your bilberry, it's a lot of things out there that help certain things. I make sure I take that because me myself, I probably suffer from a calcium deficiency because I don't drink no milk. I don't drink cow pus. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't eat a lot of dairy products. I eat cheese, but not all the time, you know, so I probably have a vitamin D deficiency. That cell salt, like the sheik was saying, when we did that demonstration, I went ahead and ordered my cell salt. I looked at my month, September, and ordered the cell salt. I really can't say I feel a difference, but I just started taking it. So, you know, I never knew nothing of it, you know, until, you know, we had the Zoom meeting and it was brung up. So I thank y'all for that. I yield the floor.
Islam, and also you want the 3 signs that are after you, the cell salts that correspond to those signs are what you need, assuming that you were in the womb 9 months and came out. So that's what.
Okay, I got one cell salt. Let me grab it real quick.
I believe it would be Libra. For Virgo, it'd be Libra.
Well, I pulled up this chart and it told me Kali Phos 6X. That's what I ended up getting. KALIPHOS 6X. Kali Phos.
Is that pertaining to Virgo?
Yes, sir. According to the chart that I pulled up in the Google search. Because you said we could just pull it up right in Google search that time. And that's what I did. And they had all the months. And on the other side, they had all the salts according to those months.
Right. Okay. So on that list, you need Libra cell salts, you need Scorpio cell salts, and Sagittarius. Those are the 3 signs after Virgo. You need those cell salts.
And Scorpio.
Yeah. The 3 signs after Virgo, just in case I butchered that. And the cells correspond to those signs, those are what you need. So I know, yeah. So you need silica, you need sodium phosphate, you need magnesium. I can't think of the other one offhand.
Okay.
But that's pretty much how it works.
All right, so all I gotta do now is pull that sorry to hold you up. All you gotta do now is pull that list up, look for the Libra and the Scorpio cell salt, and just order them 2, and I'm good.
And the 3, it's 3 signs.
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, yeah.
Sagittarius, okay. Wow.
Any other thoughts on this piece for transition? Questions, thoughts, statements? Okay, here's a book by Brother Ivan Van Sertima called The African Presence in Early Asia. Brother Benjamin Bay, I don't know if you want to chime in here. Oh, no. Oh, there you go.
Yo. The African presence in early China.
Yes.
Heard. African presence in early China. James Brunson. The inhabitants of China are the yellow race type, but no doubt built up upon a Black foundation. The anthologists found there the evidence of a remote pygmy or Negroid population. To the Western mind, the Far East conjures images of glistening porcelain, precious jade objects, colorful silk garments, and infinity wise sages. Ancient China is given priority as the most enduring culture in the Orient. It is generally accepted that its modern inhabitants are primarily responsible for the creation of Chinese civilization. However, the evidence indicates a non-Chinese or African element or seminal in propelling China towards civilization. The aim of this article is to identify that element. Anthropological finds dating from the Upper Paleolithic through the Mesolithic periods, 20,000 BC to to 8,000 BC, substantiate the existence of Negroid types in China. At Chao Kaotian, in a cave near Peking, skeletal remains of an old man Negroid, Neanderthal, a woman Eskimo, a Mongolian, a young female, modern-day Malaysian were found. The anthropologist Carlton Kuhn considered the Eskimo a Caucasoid type. These skeletal remains are incredible in view of the evolutionary theories pertaining to man. Evolutionary theories pertaining to man. Shout out to Mars. Because of the ethnic features of many yellow people's full lips, clatorinina, and protagonism. Diab has suggested the possibility of the Mongolian types originating from a mixture of Blacks and whites. The yellow race as well was probably the result of crossbreeding between Blacks and whites at a very ancient time in the history of mankind. In fact, the yellow peoples have the pigmentation of mixed breeds, so much comparative biochemical analysis would be unable to reveal any great difference in the quality of melanin. And it has been observed that wherever there are yellow-skinned peoples, one still finds pockets of blacks and whites who seem to be the residential elements of that race. Even the earlier fossil remains of the Negroid type have been found in the upper Pleistocene, period, 50,000 years BC to 10,000 years BC, from southern China to the provinces of Sichuan and Guangxi, two human skulls to Zhejiang, Man Mongoloid, and Luo Chang'an. Shout out, bruh. Negroid type man have been unearthed. On the basis of the two skulls, one might be tempted to suggest that population of southern China represents an early form of Homo sapiens, which later deviated into some of the constituent elements of modern Mongoloid and Oceanic Negroid populations.
So to summarize that first piece, the original Manchurians were, well, keep in mind, it's all about cross-referencing. We reading different literature. We know the terms black and white are being used. We know that's not a nationality. We know that's political status. But when we use our intellectual mind, we see the original people of the land were highly melanated. All right, you got it. It may be emphasized.
Gotcha. My phone is like loading. Okay. This to the left at the top. Oh yeah, here we go.
Yep.
It may be emphasized that the Mongoloid type from the been recognized as a primitive form of Mongol. A chief noted Mongolian humanity seems to have evolved from a darker prototype. The missing element to this puzzle may be found in ancient Chinese legends. They describe in their annals a primitive hairy race of people whom scholars now identify as the Ainu. These Ainu, who live predominantly in Japan, Some still live in the mountains of China, show signs of Negroid and Mongolian admixture. Some anthropologists consider them Caucasoid. However, a leading authority remarked is two are flattened and thick. Their hair, which is long and thick, is coarse. Resembling Mongolian peoples in few ways, the closest relative to Anu are the Negroid Maori peoples. A final note of interest in the recording of the Anu in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia church ward empathetically noted that the Anu came out of Egypt and settled in Persia, India, and China and Asia. They are described as children of the bear, and evidence shows a bear cult in prehistoric China. And in Egypt and Mesopotamia, we come across references to the striking down of the Anu, perhaps some legend of their expulsion from these areas. South of the Yangtze River, the earliest Neolithic site, 6000 BC to 4260 BC, are to be found in the provinces of Zekwan, Hwangsi, Yunnan, and the western parts of the Kong as far as Pearl River. Other sites, central Shenxi, southwestern Shenxi, and the western Henan, all show evidence of Negroid skeletal remains. These are associated with stone implements. As late as the Qin dynasty, 221 BC to 206 BC, a continuous occupation of this region of Black types existed. The Negroids, whom the Chinese call Black Dwarfs, are recorded in the mountainous districts south of after the 3rd century of our era. However, they are not mentioned. Some immigrated, but others remained and were assimilated by the dominant southern Mongolian stock, as witness to the kinky hair and swarthy skin noticeable amongst a few southern Chinese.
So real quick, let's have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
So we got the original inhabitants of Manchuria, modernly known as China. We got Japan. We have the Anu. We also did previous demonstrations showing how the Olmecs, which was referred to as the Shi, migrated to Manchuria, set up dynasties, Fu Shang dynasty, Li dynasty. Now we have more cross-referencing. And in the time period, we can never forget the time period when we're doing this. What's the time period of the Olmecs? What's the time period of the Shi? What's the time period of the Shang dynasty? All BC time correlating to this period, which shows how we were traveling the sea during this time, back and forth. We were nomadic. Any other thoughts? Any thoughts on that? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
So remember the purpose of that getting information is for application, right? So in this case, when we have different scholarly literary work, we can talk to once again the common man and woman, because remember, we're talking about uplifted fallen humanity. We're talking about history, law, being able to be expressed to the common man and woman, friends and family, to help them see how they need to unite and how we need to unite.
And the Maori, the need as well. That's a staple you can use. Like that's another form of more like MAUR, and then you take the vowels out and all that. Just have MR. All that. So.
You caught that too. I was debating.
Yeah, I was trying to say it like Maori or more, but I was like for sure like Negro and then Maori. Come on now, like
right
that long.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, I was debating whether to stop you on that point, but I'm glad you brought that up. Like, you know.
Yeah. The Maori, the one I was like, oh, there we go, right there.
Yes.
Negro and Maori. That's just like Blackamoor.
Right.
In a sense.
Right. We got something in the chat. We got a question in the chat. Let me see here. What year is this? Okay. Oh no, it was directly to me, but we're talking about 6,000 BC, 40 to 4360 BC. In summary, the BC time, Berber calendar time, loosely referred to as before Christ time. You got it, brother.
Gotcha. I guess the Negrotos in question appear to have been the ancestors of the Australian Aborigine stock of Papuan people, Papuan people, known as Malaysians. During the Neolithic period, the Australian Negroids maintained a shoulder kilt culture that extended from the base of Szechuan and Yunnan towards India in the west, and from Nanking to Tonkin and Yunnan to Fokien as far as coast of Korea. These Austroastics, who are also known as the Black Pottery people of Eastern
No.
Ai culture.
Austroasiatics.
That's
Austroasiatic.
right. Yeah.
That's a herd. These what's Austroasiatic?
Yeah.
All right. The Austroasiatics, who are also known as Black Pottery people or Eastern One culture or I culture, would later be called the squatting barbarians on the East Coast, stretching north to far south, was an oval axe culture of the Papuan Carthags, described the earliest. What's up with that?
Now, real quick, I wanted to marinate on what you just read. So now we have Austroasiatics. We know Moors is Asiatic. We have the term for our people in that eastern region known as the squatting barbarians. We know this term is given by the foreigner observing us. But who else?
Like
The Barbary, right? Yeah.
Like astrology, Astro type.
When I hear it like this, I always think they're referring to Australia. Like
Heard. Which that makes sense.
Because a couple lines up, you said Australian Negroids at the context.
What a word. Australia, yeah. But then Asiatics of the continent of Asia. Yes.
Right. And then once again, the squatting barbarians, whoever doesn't know, when the quote unquote Greeks and Romans were referring to our people as barbarians, just know our empire referred to as the Barbary Empire. So if the squatting barbarians in China or Japan, they're insinuating that it's Moors over there as well.
That made me think of the Vikings. They would be quote unquote called like a barbarian type,
You know what I'm wondering? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you good.
So I was wondering, because it says squatting barbarians, you know how like have you guys ever heard of like the Asian squat? You know what I'm talking about, right? Your feet are like flat on the ground.
Yeah.
Kimchi squat.
Right? I wonder if like that's like why they refer to squatting barbarians, right?
That's where my mind went. I went there as far as like, like that and different yoga postures and stuff like that. That's what my mind
Yeah. That is a serious posture for sure. Definitely for the leg man.
But you got it whenever you got it, brother.
Inhabit as having straight and woolly hair, jet black and glossy skin, thick lips, flat nose, and protruding bellies. What? And further remarked, the Negro type was originally characterized in Southern Asia, of which no doubt it was the sole occupant of an infinite period of time. From there, the various reputations of type migrated into various directions. Invasions or infiltrations of various yellow and white races have separated the Negro populations, which formerly occupied a continuous area. The Negroto subtype is one of the oldest of the race and was the least predominant in Indochina when the racial crossing began. Central China's Huanggo Basin provided the impetus for its fermenting new civilization of its three major cultures, Yang Shao, Haiciotium, and Tapian King. Respect to you over there. I'm not trying to, they'll see this in the future. Two are of the special attention. The Haiciotian culture, which can be associated with the Austroasiatics and Papuans, an indigenous phenomenon. It is believed that the Yang Shao culture may be identified with the immigrants from Western Asia. These people who had painted pottery influenced Western Panan, Western Hotep, Hopi, and Eastern Szekwan. At any rate, three things are apparent after 3200 BC. One, the human skeletal remains were primarily non-Chinese or proto-Chinese. Two, the cultural transformation that emerged from this basin was a Longshannoid culture, black pottery. And the first three Chinese dynasties grew out of this cradle: Asia, Shang, Xiang, and Chao.
And just real quick, and that's the whole, I brought up the Shang dynasty. But I want to bring up the pottery, because once again, I'm talking about how the Olmecs, which ultimately became the Mayans and the Aztecs, derivative, they were into pottery. That's heavy in Central America. Making out of clay, turning clay into pots and stuff like that. So, as well as the calendar, America, the Mayan calendar, big. I think the Empress brought up how jade was a big thing amongst the Olmecs, and jade is a big thing amongst the Asiatic culture as well, and the calendar system. So this is a culture that was brought from the Americas to Asia Major or Manchuria. I want to throw that out there. That's something that stood out to me as well.
Heard. Got you. There we go.
I think
early Chinese legends relate traditions of divine dynasties, one being the epoch of the five emperors. As Fuhi, 2953 BC to 2838 BC, is described as a woolly-haired Negro. He is credited with establishing government, originating social institutions and cultural inventions. Similarly to Egyptian god Thoth, he taught his people to fish with nets and rear domestic animals, and devised cultural inventions. Fu Hisi was the first to develop writing, organize sacrifices, and taught the worship of spirits. The second emperor, Shinung, 2008 BC to 2806 BC, is associated with the introduction of agriculture. During the age of Shinung, people rested at ease and acted with vigor. They cared for their mothers and not their fathers. They lived among deer. They ate what they cultivated and wore what they wove. They did not think of harming one another.
It's real quick. For brother DL still in here. We was talking about Thoth yesterday. Let me see. I don't think he is. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, so brother DL, you see how Thoth or Tahuti, the context they're using it in, and it's associated with the Asiatic culture. So that's another tie-in as well. I'm gonna throw that out there. All right, you got it, brother.
All right. Diop's two cradle theory becomes intriguing when equated with the matrilinear and agrarian institutions of earlier dynasties. At this juncture, an appraisal or pre-patriarchal China seems in order. In the prehistoric periods, the state was one of dominance. Among the more primitive Anu people, the wives dictate to their husbands and make them fetch and carry. The Tongas, ancient Manchus, and the Tartars, Mongols, also exhibit remains of.
So just real quick. We see the matriarch um, reverence, which was heavy in Moorish culture. You see it in the Tartary side, right? We see remnants of the same culture in Manchuria. So that's another connection to show you that the same people navigated and pushed the culture, expanded these philosophies. Remnants of the matriarchal state, right?
Remnants of the matriarchal state. One ancient writer remarked that the custom of counting genealogies is derived from the female side. Identically, the ancient Tartars were an aboriginal Cladrinian nose, black-skinned people. This Vedic people asteroid type, as described in Oxford Dictionary, as Dasyus. They were considered outcasts of the tribes of Brahma. Tartar women were not only equal with their men, but fought alongside of them. However, Diop has emphasized distinct cultural phenomena for matriarchal and the emergence of the Amazonian spirit. Among ancient Chinese is the privilege to have as their great wife a Tartar. Summarizing, Fuhisi considered himself born of mother and knew no father. However, the Chinese state that marriage was instituted by Fuhisi, sexual relations have been previously unrestricted, based upon the recommendations of his sister and wife, Niu Kitjaya. This allowed Fu Isus to penetrate into the mystery of the maternity of primary matter, yin yang, or male-female principle. He was eventually succeeded.
Sorry to cut you off. It's just things I want to forget about. So once again, yesterday we was talking about Torrance High School. I think it was a brother Larry Bay, how their mascot called the Tartars. They got the scimitar on, and now in Tartar is short for Tartarian. Whoever didn't know that connection, and just like how they call the barbarian or barbar, or it's a cartoon from an elephant. He was like a baby elephant or something. I remember back in the day. I could be butchering it, but the barbars, our symbol was the elephant, which is still in the Republican Party insignia today. Because yeah, man. Yeah. You feel me? I don't want to throw you off. You remember where you left off at?
Male-female principle.
All right, there you go.
So the mystery of maternity.
I have a quick question real quick. Sorry. When you're talking about the Fuxi or Fuxi, is that the Shi XI?
Yeah.
It's not Shang, right? This is Shi. So this is Shi before the Shang.
Yeah.
Shi dynasty, then Shang dynasty, then Li's dynasty. So right now we're talking about Shi dynasty, which Olmecs are known as Shi people, XI.
Right.
But it's spelled differently right now.
Right. Because the vowels are interchangeable, but it doesn't change the word, the word. Yeah. That's a good intuition right there. That's great. That's what we do this for. To draw them connections,
You
got it.
I got you. He eventually succeeded by his sister wife, who reigned for 130 years. All the early dynasties trace their descent from woman alone. The Shang dynasty descended from Princess Qian Shi, the Chao dynasty from Princess Qian Yun, and the Tisyu dynasty from Nian Shao. Matrilinear society still exists in southern China and some extent. Women work while men care for the children and the home. Following divine dynasties, the epoch of the three dynasties include Hashi, Chang, and Chao. The earliest Shang Shao sites are found in central Shi, southwestern Shaanxi, and western Hunan. This region of southwestern China, according to ancient traditions, was the domain of the Hashi dynasty 2205 to 1766 BC, during the semi-historical period. Hostilities were beginning to grow between the North and South, forcing the Southerners to continuously build walls to keep out their antagonistic neighbors. So, the founder of the dynasty, Yushi, was a great hydraulic engineer. Prehistoric hydraulics are often as associated with agriculture, and again, tradition locates its cradle in the southern Shenxi. Through the archaeological evidence on this dynasty has not been forthcoming, tradition divides it into 9 great divisions. One of these divisions was known as the Li Qiang. The Qiang, who may have originally come from the west, were black. A present-day people known as the Nasi considered themselves descendants of the Qiang. The name Naki was apparently given to Cheyenne by the Moso people due to their darker complexion. Naki means black man. Na equals black. Hai man. The Moso were also dark, but not as dark as the Naki. These people currently live in Tibetan mountains, southwestern Shanxi, the stronghold of the Hashi dynasty, and the southern province Shanxi were occupied by the Qiang. If the Hashi dynasty cannot be established archaeologically, evidence of contact with the West during the second millennium is evident. And the tomb from Hashi Tuan was found as a decorative motif of intertwining animals' forms of the Egyptian/Mesopotamian origins. This was evidently a degenerated of the famous hero and beast motif, which also originated in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Also, a jar cover with a phallic-shaped handle, also from Hashitiyon, which is similar to types found in Mohenjo Daro and Jimdet Nasir. Based upon the evidence, A.C. Haddon concluded that the conventionalized pottery of China bears a close resemblance to that of the pre-Sumerian Babylonian, the eastern borders of Persia, Susa, Anu, Ai, and Asia Minor. This period, 3000 to 2500 BC, corresponds roughly with our concerns, and as it is known, blacks or Negroid types reside in these areas. Cheyenne or Cheyenne, 1766 to 1100 BC is
So real quick, I'm sorry about that. Sorry to keep, but as to bring out what Non-L was talking about, Shane, and you see it spelled differently, but that doesn't change. It's pronounced the same, but it's spelled different. So don't let that throw you off. That throws people off sometimes. We're talking about the same expression here. All right, you got it, brother.
All right. The Shang through 1766 to 1100 BC is recognized as putting China on its history proper. This royal house is considered an offshoot of the Neolithic Longshanoi culture, giving it a long unbroken tradition. Many Chinese archaeologists are convinced that the Shang settled at Erdli Tao in southern Shanxi. The northwestern Henan is the earliest evidence of their existence. Traditionally, the territory of the Hashi dynasty, Erdli Tao, is believed to be the site of Po, capital of King Tang or Ta, founder of the Shang dynasty. As mentioned, these people were initially matrilinear in culture, worshiping a mother goddess and practicing agriculture. They had a priesthood and practiced religious ceremonies that included of sati burial ritual.
Ritual sacrifice. It looked like he kind of broke up. Acquainted with metalworking, and bronze, the making a form of porcelain, and silk weaving. When we investigate the Silk Road, that's a Moorish trade route. Is a the invention of southern China. The Shang people are credited with bringing together the elements of China's earliest known civilization. Two distinct racial types seem to have. Are you back? You back?
Yeah. My bad. I don't know what's. I think I was messing up. Negro. The Shang were diminutive black race. Those that migrated from the West, amalgamated perhaps into the indigenous population, and infused new cultural ideas. However, when the child conquered and usurped the political power of the Shang dynasty, oily skin, the patrilineal child clans, after taking the Shang capital, Anyang, integrated fully with the matrilineal Shang population. Before the demise of the Shang dynasty, one can witness vestiges of the patrilineal culture emerging. Inheritance through the female began to play a decreasing role until the cultural element finally disappeared. This process of infiltration and amalgamation with a dominant culture has been seen in Egypt and Western Asia. Summer.
All right. I think that'd be a good place to stop for this segment. Have a conversation about this. Will we digest it? Any thoughts?
I don't know. Would that be like the Great Wall of China? That explained like when I was thinking about when I was reading earlier about they were building a wall to separate basically the matrilineal and the patrilineal. You know, it was like hey, basically it was funk going on. So it's like, hey, let's build this wall in between to protect. And ironically, I saw a video the other day about someone saying the wall was built for a different reason. You know,
Seer.
Yeah.
Seer.
And I was like, ah, wow. So that does make sense, though. Just build a wall, just like walk over here and all that. So yeah, it's a testament to the uniting of Asia and us being like everywhere on the planet, and everywhere on the planet is copper tone people that we can take something literally more as far as like the Maori, the Negro Maori people, you know, and Shang itself, you know, and Naki, you know, and I listen to somebody listen to BTS, and there's some word they're saying, but it sounds like Nika, but they're not saying like the N word. Yeah, something like that. So that the Nazi reminded me of that. Where it means black, you know, as far as like not etymology, but yeah, shout out.
Yeah. You got something? You can say something, Donnell?
Yes, I just wanted to wait till he's finished. So like from what I've been reading, I know people think like the she, like they believe the Shang was started first, is what I've been reading. But in this literature, it talks about how right here, the earliest evidence of their existence, where does it say? Chinese archaeologists are convinced that the Shang settlement is the earliest evidence of their existence. But they talk about the Shi dynasty, but it's spelled HSIA dynasty, right? The Qi dynasty is believed to be the site of Po capital, pretty much the founder of the Shang dynasty. So before the Shang dynasty, there was the Shi dynasty, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, right? How Olmecs were Shi, right? None of the Shi people, right? So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. And then also how you were saying like the culture, right? The influence, right? The matriarchy. I see that was an influence from the Shi over to the Shang dynasty where they had the mother goddess, right? The matriarchal, system. So I just wanted to bring that back up and kind of like, because we just ended at that part right there.
Yep. And back to the Wall of China, it was an attempt to get the people that were opposing the ancient traditions and trying to implement a new style and get away from inheritance coming from the mother, the matriarchal principle, and really diluting the culture. the wall was to keep these people out. You know, in Asir, the Duke of Tyr did a video on that like about a year ago. That's where my mind went to too when I'm reading this. A lot of people don't know the reason why the wall was even built. People just look at the Great Wall of China like this amazing, situation, but why was it being built? There was something else that stood. Yeah, the inheritance through the female began to play a decreased role. So inheritance through the female, we look at like back to the Olmecs, back to indigenous Moroccan or American culture. You start seeing a lot of we call them sheiks, but they call it a chief, but it's the same, same thing. How the women would bestow that position on the men. They were crowned as chiefs. I believe it's if you read the Constitution of the Iroquois Confederation, you'll get that context of what I'm speaking of. Any other thoughts, comments, statements on this? Okay. So I want to transition to we're talking congressional records, things that we can use. I think I had another one. It's crazy. I had something else queued up, but anyway, so it's a congressional record from the Senate, July 31st, 2012, S5727. We have a mention of our treaty. And the reason why this is important, competence is key in getting our political agenda across on a lot of different levels. So I'm gonna read this and we'll discuss it after. So Mr. Casey, this was speaking. Mr. President, I would like to take this occasion to extend congratulations to His Majesty King Mohammed VI, the people and the people of Morocco, the 225th anniversary of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and the Kingdom of Morocco. So for context, the Kingdom of Morocco got established in 1956 as a French protectorate. So if you don't have background on the historical continuity of America, a different treaty that took place, you will be thrown off because the Kingdom of Morocco has a king today, and it's King Mohammed. So most people would think about over there, North Africa. I'm going to go into our treaty in a second after I read this, tie it all together. But clearly, the U.S. personnel is not talking about that Kingdom of Morocco if they're talking about a 225th anniversary. Clearly, we're talking about the ancient treaties of 1700 between the Moors and the United States. So let me continue. Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States and the Kingdom of Morocco. Negotiations for this treaty began in 1783, and the draft was signed in 1786. Future presidents John Adams, Thomas Jefferson were the American signatories, or the United States signatories. The treaty was then presented to the Senate, which ratified it on July 18, 1787, making it the first treaty to receive U.S. Senate ratification. The treaty represented the second time that Morocco and the United States affirmed the diplomatic relations between the two countries. It is also worth mentioning that the Sultan Mohammed III was the first head of the state, and his full name is Sultan Sidi, S-I-D-A Mohammed III. Anybody want to cross-reference him? Was the first head of the state, and Morocco, the first country to recognize the United States, was an independent country, as an independent country in 1777. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, whose anniversary week commemorate this month provided for the United States diplomatic representation in Morocco and open commerce at any Moroccan port on the basis of the most favored nation. It also established the principle of non-hostility when either country was engaged in war with any other nation. Most importantly, the treaty provided for the protection of the U.S. shipping vessels at a time when American merchant ships were at risk of harassment by various European warships. So that's talking about, English ships, British ships, French ships. We had to distinguish them by their flag. And they were getting attacked by their own people. And we would assist them based on the treaty. If any vessel belonging to the United States shall be in any of the ports of His Majesty, speaking of the Sultan or Majesty's dominions, or within gunshot, and this is verbatim of the treaty too, which we'll get into, or within gunshot of his forts shall be protected as much as possible, and no vessel whatsoever belonging either to Moorish or Christian powers with whom the United States may be at war shall be permitted to follow or engage her, as we now deem the citizens of America our good friends. So this is a congressional record. Whoever doesn't know, Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution. Full faith and credit on any case law, full faith and credit on any judicial acts, any proclamations. And it's on the same footing as law. All right, so let's go to the actual treaty. Library of Congress. And the Empress put in the chat, city means ruler or sultan leader as well. It's from the Library of Congress. Copy of the treaty. Public statutes at large. Congressional records. So here's the actual treaty. Once again, we see the key players. And I'm just bringing this up because this is what that congressional record is referring to. At this time, the Kingdom of Morocco was not established. That French protectorate was not established. When we say in America, we're talking about Morocco. Who are the two parties? Moors and U.S. citizens. Are we talking about North Africa? Technically, yeah, because when we go back to our lessons, it's in Northwest of Mexico, loosely referred to as Northwest Africa. So North America is North Africa. Africa, when you take it to the Latin, just goes to terra, which just means land. So in that context, yes. To show you another context how America is Northwest Africa, or we're talking about America when we're talking about the treaty. In case of war between the parties, the prisoners are to not be made slaves, but to be exchanged one for another, captain for captain, officer for officer, one private man for another. And if that shall prove a deficiency on either side, it shall be made up of the payment of 100 Mexican dollars. So I like to always highlight this, like I put in my book. We're not going to be talking about Mexican dollars if we're not talking about the empire in America. It's not going to be Mexican dollars being exchanged in France, Russia. That's not going to be the currency. We're clearly talking about in America. When they use common sense. And these are things that we could talk to common man and woman when we're discussing historical accounts about the Moors. Just wanted to put that out there. Any thoughts, comments, statements?
It's going through is what Noble Drew Ali said that Mexicans are Moors, so Moors and United States citizens or citizens of the United States, and then they're paying in Mexican dollars. So like Mexicans and Moors are right here and United States citizens. So they're dealing with the Moors and dealing with the Mexicans in some kind of way, state of fashion. You know,
Wow.
to bring the Moorish brothers and sisters in there.
Any other thoughts, statements, comments on any level?
So that means within like South America doing this,
Yeah, the
dealing
empire.
with, you know what I mean, like this location, like deal with Mexican dollars, so they had to be somewhere in South America, something. You know, if they're dealing with Mexicans, nothing. That's like South America.
Yeah,
Make
the
me think
empire.
like,
Yeah, the empire was all of Americas, but I think when they say Mexico, that's still like because Mexico is North and Central America. So, me personally, I would think Mexico is still North America, right?
yeah, I'm Mexican, Northwest Mexican, as far as like Mexico and Mexican. So
Yeah.
Mexican dollars could be referring to a Mexican name in ancient times. So they're using more than the land isn't probably named North America, probably a Mexican at this time. I mean, so Mexican dollars would go with the land of a Mexican,
Right.
from top to bottom. So yeah, right.
Yep.
Hey, you.
Yeah, Islam. Any other thoughts, statements?
Islam Piccolo Cosario.
Islam.
Yeah, the Islam, the document, the document from the Peabody Museum, and it gets into the 1600s, where the term Montezuma, a Moorish king, with a headdress, later became Montezuma, an Indian with an apron. So just with that particular document alone, also, it lets you know that Montezuma is a Moorish king, and that's how he's noted in this this book from the 1888, which was published at the Peabody Museum, Harvard Peabody Museum. So I yield. I just want to add that.
That's fire. That's fire. All right. Nobody had any other thoughts on this? I'm going to transition to the Quran. Empress Nanel, did you want to read this?
Okay. Let's see. Is that chapter, how do I read that? Is that 33?
43.
43? Chapter 43, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, the Insufficiency of Knowledge. Number 1, if there is anything lovely, if there is anything desirable, if there is anything within the reach of man that is worthy of praise, is it not knowledge? And yet, who is it that attaineth it? Number 2, the statesman proclaimeth that he hath it. The ruler of the people claimeth the praise of it, but findeth the subject that he possesseth it. Number 3, evil is not, was it, how you say that, requisite to man, neither can vice be necessary to be tolerated. Yet how many evils are permitted by the connivance of the laws? How many crimes committed by the decree of the council? 4, but be wise, O ruler, and learn, O thou that are to command the nations. One crime authorized by thee is worse than the escape of 10 from punishment. 5, when the people are numerous, when thy sons increase about thy table, sendest thou them not out to slay the innocent, and to fall before the sword of him whom they have not offended. 6, if the objects of thy desire demanding the lives of 1,000 saith thou not, I will have it. Surely thou forgettest that he who created thee created also these, and that their blood is as rich as thine. 7. Sayest thou that justice cannot be executed without wrong? Surely thine own words condemn thee. 8. Thou who flattereth with false hopes the criminal that he may confess his guilt, art not thou unto him a criminal? Or art thou guiltless because he cannot punish it? 9. When thou commandest to the torture him whom is but suspected of ill, dare thou to remember that thou mayest rack the innocent? 10. Is thy purpose answered by the event, or is thy soul satisfied with his confessions? Pain will enforce him to say what is not, as easy as what is, and anguish hath caused innocence to accuse herself. 11. That thou mayest not kill him without cause, that thou dost worse than kill him, that thou mayest prove if he be guilty, thou destroyeth him innocent. 12. O blindness to all truth, O insufficiency of wisdom of the wise. Know when thy judge shall bid thee account for this, and thou shalt wish 10,000 guilty to have gone free, rather than one innocent to stand forth against thee. 13. Insufficient as thou art to the maintenance of justice, how shalt thou arise at the knowledge of truth? How shalt thou ascend to the footstep of her throne? 14. As the owl is blinded by the radiance of the sun, so shall the brightness of her countenance dazzle thee in thy approaches. 15. If thou wouldest mount onto her throne, first bow thyself at her footstool. If thou wouldest arrive at the knowledge of her, first inform thyself of thine own ignorance. 16. More worth is she than pearls, therefore seek her carefully. The emerald and the sapphire and the ruby are as dirt beneath her feet, therefore pursue her manfully. 17. The way to her is labor. Attention is the pilot that must conduct thee into her port, but weary not on the way. For when art arrived at her, the toil shall be to thee for pleasure. 18. Say not unto thyself, behold, truth breedeth hatred, and I will avoid it. This mutilation raiseth friends, and I will follow it. Are not the enemies made by truth better than the friends obtained by flattery? 19. Naturally doth man desire the truth, yet when it is before him, he will not apprehend it. And if it force itself upon him, he is not offended at it. 20. The fault is not in truth, for that is amiable, but the weakness of man beareth not its splendor. 21. Wouldst thou see thine insufficiency more plainly? View thy devotions. To what end was religion instituted, but to teach thee thine infirmities, to remind thee of thy weakness, to show thee that from heaven alone art thou to hope for good? 22. Doth it not remind thee that thou art dust? Doth it not tell thee that thou art ashes? And behold, repentance, is it not how do you say that? Frailty. 23. When thou givest an oath, when thou swearest thou wilt not deceive, behold, it spreadeth shame upon thy face, and upon the face of him that receiveth it. Learn to be just, a repentance may be forgotten. Learn to be honest, and oaths are necessary. 24. The shorter follies are the better. Say not therefore to thyself, I will not play the fool by halves. 25. He that heareth his own faults with patience shall reprove another with boldness. 26. He that giveth a denial with reason shall suffer repulse with moderation. 27. If thou art suspected, answer with freedom. Whom should suspicion affright except the guilty? 28. The tender of heart is turned from his purpose by supplications. The proud is rendered more obstinate by entreaty. The sense of thine insufficience commandeth thee to hear, but to be just, thou must hear without thy passions.
All right. What stood out to you as you were reading this chapter dealing with insufficiency of knowledge? Insufficiency of knowledge. So that's not being sufficient, right? Of knowledge. I'll just say a couple of things that stood out to me. The example of torturing somebody to get the truth out of them, right? In that position, a person would say whatever the torturer wants to hear, right? So you might not, it's not really about the truth, it's more about, you know, forcing somebody to say something how you want it to come out, right? That's not really knowledge. Another thing that stood out to me was, you know, the truth could be harsh. It could come off harsh. It could have people looking at you a certain way because it's like, oh man, he talking too much truth now. It's an insecurity that might come in that person because I mean he right or whatever. But that shouldn't stop you from telling, you know, speaking truth because of that fact. So these are things that stood out to me. But as you were reading, I'm just curious what stood out to you or anybody in the chat.
I gotta be honest, the thou and all the words I was saying I haven't like read it like this before, you know what I mean? So it was kind of hard for me to like pick up by what I was saying because it was throwing me off a little bit. But I probably have to digest it and like marinate in it a little bit.
I say towards the end, it was basically for me, it was trusting yourself. Don't like lie to yourself. You know, listen to your inner thought, like, know what to do. You know, that insufficient knowledge would be like that truth we're running from. You know what I mean? So it's like honor yourself at the end of the day. You know, don't be insufficient of yourself. Always be truthful. Like you said, when you're speaking the truth, insecurities pop up, and that will make you want to tone it down. But if you're coming from a place of truth and not passion, like you need to be doing this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, you know, okay, this is who we are. If you want to take heed, go ahead. I'm not passionately trying to force this down your throat. I mean, like you need this for sure, but you know, I'm not coming from a place of passion, more of a compassion. You know, I don't know you, but I love you enough to tell you the truth. You know, type deal. So that's what I towards the end, like 25, 26, 27. It's like, you know, it's like if you're guilty of something, will that be like not telling the truth? You know, telling somebody not the truth about a nationality or selling some piece of knowledge for more than what it's worth. You know, but if you being honest, you ain't got no reason to feel bad about that. You know what I mean? So if you go to spin those notes that you got from that and they don't go the way you intended to because it was rooted in passion, or you would tell them for yourself and not for the greater good. But I yield.
It's fine. It's fine. Any other thoughts on this chapter?
Yeah, I see like a part where they say the fault is not in the truth. So that means that, you know, some people are just, it seems that willing or able to hear the truth, but if not, then that's something that maybe they're just not able to receive. But the truth is the truth.
Oh, and then we got in the chat, it's Hazamaji L, know thyself. and to thy own self be true.
Sir.
Right. So that's parallel to this. And number 18, say not unto thyself, behold, truth breedeth hatred. You can't think like that. You can't think about the haters that's gonna come based on your propagation of it. Right. So
that pretty much means like stand by your truth, right? Stand by it. Even if, people may not see it, and, it's your truth. But just know thyself, right? You know yourself, you know your truth.
they say it unapologetically. Right.
Yeah. It's like using fire to heat up stuff, but if you reach over there and burn your hand, that's on you.
Right.
Like the fire doesn't breed burning people up. That's truth doesn't breed hatred. But if you take this truth as something hatred, that's on you. If you take this fire that I'm using to cook a meal and throw your hand in there, shame on you. So that's how I look at it. Like, truth doesn't breed hatred. There's fire isn't to harm people or knives or things of that nature. It's about how you use it. It can breed that if you're going out preaching, hate speech. That's why Ali told us don't go flashing this and doing that. Because in those times, probably what more they're doing, running upon them, like, yeah, I got to do, and I'm more. We always trying to floss. It seems like we're flossing with nationality cards back then. That would be like the money phone or something like that, or something like that. So yeah, I'm free. Go ahead, woo. But the whole time you on debt notes. The whole time you just using the nationality card as a symbol. You're not really applying it. You just, I got my joint now. Now I'm good, but you're not really using it. So that's how I just,
Yeah. Islam. Yeah, man. Any other thoughts before we close out here? Close out in prayer. All righty. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen. Peace and love to everybody. Hope everybody have a beautiful rest of their day. And,
Peace and love.
Islam. Peace and love.
Islam.
Love everyone.
Good luck, Morris.